Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Thursday, April 2nd, 2015. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5, coming to you from a gray and rainy Gem City. Pleased to be joined, as always, on Thursdays by the Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, Steve Wiltfong. How are you hanging today, Steve?
Good morning, Dan. I sent that grayness to you from the 317. The sun is starting to come out here in Indianapolis, though.
Yeah, you're going to have some tourists there this weekend, I believe.
A lot of Big Blue Nation. Some Duke fans, and then, the other two programs. I don't think they're going to bring quite the same heat.
Yeah, I've heard if you wanted to get a hotel room, because of the fact that three of the teams can drive there, that you got to stay like 100 miles outside of town. So good for the city of Indianapolis.
The state date's got a little bit of a cloud over it, whether that's right or wrong, or whether people aren't really investigating truly the root of the story going on here. But there's no question there's a little bit of a cloud over Indianapolis. But the Final Four, business is going to be good this weekend.
Yeah, spotlight definitely on Indy. But our spotlight at Bucknuts, as always, recruiting. And last weekend was an enormous one on the recruiting calendar. For those of you who were out of town or under a rock, I think we had something like 22 stories in a 36-hour stretch covering everything. You have some insight into what went down. Coming out of that weekend, let's just talk about what the major themes are for you when it comes to the Buckeyes.
Always fun covering a big Buckeyes recruiting weekend with my friends Bill and Alex at Bucknuts, who do a tremendous job. I think the biggest piece of news outside of DeMario McCall committing, and that was more a matter of when, not if, but obviously still very exciting. When he does commit, and it's official in Ohio State, they've locked up the top running back class in the country. They just have more dynamic playmakers coming in, and it's scary. They had dynamic playmakers that didn't play this year. You look at a guy like Terry McLaurin from Indianapolis Cathedral. I talked to some of my sources in Columbus. They think he's going to be a very good player for them. He didn't play down this past year. So no shortage of playmakers and more speed and talent coming to Columbus with DeMario McCall coming in. Obviously, we think he's special. The number 3 running back in the country, according to 24/7 Sports, one of just 2 running backs that we've invited to play in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl to this point. So we obviously love DeMario, and that's a big-time get, and he can do so many things. But the big piece of news for me coming out of the weekend was Tristan Wallace, the top 100 quarterback, number 3 dual-threat quarterback in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. I think Ohio State's the team to beat. It's big news for me because on a couple Bucknuts Morning 5s, a month ago or so, or maybe even a little less, I thought Ohio State would end up getting a quarterback that we're not talking about right now. But Ohio State, they've got a chance to get their top target in Tristan Wallace. And if it's not Tristan Wallace, perhaps it's Jarrett Guarantano beating them to the punch. Jarrett Guarantano visiting Ohio State one more time this weekend. It's a first-come, first-served offer for the 2 blue chippers. In my opinion, Tristan Wallace would be the ultimate get, but you can't go wrong with Jarrett Guarantano. So we'll see what happens with Ohio State and what happens with those 2.
Hypothetically, if Guarantano? It's Guarantano? I've been pronouncing it Guarantano. Now I'm told it's Guarantano.
That's what I've
Anyway.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll respond to both. But if he were to try to commit this weekend, you think Ohio State will accept the commitment?
Yeah, I think so. I think at this point, Ohio State would be very happy with either or. I think that they both have been guys that the coaching staff has put a lot of time in, and they're top of the board guys, and I think Ohio State would be happy with either one of these guys.
It seemed like a foregone conclusion a while back, and maybe it still is. I want to talk a little bit about an Indiana prospect. Austin Mack, I had him in my recruit nuts list as a Buckeye. Now it sounds like he's taken more offers and interest has really picked up on him. Do you think this is a guy taking visits that has his number 1 in mind, or he could be swaying? Because the offers are impressive.
Right. No, I think he has his number 1 in mind, and it's Ohio State, and I think it's going to be Ohio State or Notre Dame, maybe Michigan, but I really think it's going to be Ohio State or Notre Dame. For Austin Mack, he did visit Alabama, but I don't see him leaving the Midwest and Big Ten country. Ohio State, I believe, is where Austin Mack wants to go. I think he believes that he is the top guy for Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer has made him feel like a priority and recruited him very well. I think that now that he's getting closer to making his decision in June, human nature sets in. Am I making the right decision? Is Ohio State going to be the right decision for me? So you start thinking about some other schools. Then you got some people in your ear saying maybe Notre Dame is better for you. But not all the adults. I found out this weekend, not all the adults want Austin Mack at Notre Dame. There's some people that are in the Austin Mack circle that are still in favor of Ohio State. It's going to be a close decision. But my crystal ball says Ohio State until I hear differently. I'm riding with the Buckeyes, and I expect him to pick Ohio State on June 7th. He's going to visit Ohio State on the 18th, and it's going to just be one big reminder of why he himself loves Ohio State, and we'll see what happens down the stretch. You know, he's a top of the board recruit for Notre Dame as well, so it'll be a closer decision than what people thought it would be a couple months ago.
One of the guys I wanted to ask you about that I thought was in the group, and then after reading on 24/7 Sports this weekend about his visit to Penn State, I got a little nervous. Brendan Ferns, the middle linebacker, ranked number 1 by 24/7 Sports as the nation's number 1 inside linebacker, number 60 prospect overall. As everybody knows, they heavily recruited his older brother, Michael, who went to Michigan and since transferred to West Virginia. What is the latest on Brendan Ferns? Has his visit to Penn State made your crystal ball cloudy?
Well, my crystal ball's still on Ohio State. We'll see what happens this weekend. Ferns is slated to visit the Buckeyes this weekend. When I talked to his family earlier this week, I know they were having a lot of family come to town this weekend, so that could be the little curveball that would maybe limit Brendan's visit to Ohio State or perhaps even cancel it. But as of right now, the plan is for him to visit Ohio State, or I should say, as of when I talked to the family, which I believe was 2 days ago, the plan was to visit Ohio State, spend the night on Friday with the players, go to practice on Saturday. And back around Friday Night Lights, back in the summer, there was some discussion in the Ferns household about, hey, if Ohio State's where you want to go, you can commit. So I don't know how close Brendan truly was, but it did come up in discussion that, Ohio State, if you're ready, we're all ready. So, and Chris Ash has done a great job recruiting Brendan, and the family really trusts him and likes him a lot. And obviously what Ohio State's done on the field speaks for itself. But you're talking about a young man that went and visited West Virginia a couple weeks ago and went and visited Penn State last weekend. Penn State absolutely crushed that visit, and both those schools are in play too. So right now I'm predicting Ohio State, but if I woke up tomorrow morning and had to write a Brendan Ferns commitment story to the other two, I can't say I'd be surprised. My crystal ball would be wrong, but I wouldn't be too surprised at this point. I wouldn't say he's a Buckeye lock, but hey, if he committed to Ohio State this weekend, it would, I can't tell if he's close or not. He's taking a lot of visits, and he's definitely high on the 3 programs that we just talked about.
After having read the little story about Penn State, man, they really rolled out the red carpet, or whatever they would call it.
They were ready for that one, weren't they? I mean, they had that visit ready. I mean, they knew what they were going to do when Brendan Ferns got there, and they were chomping at the bit probably when they got it locked in to take them through all that, and it was impressive. Penn State, they got a lot going for them right now. And I know they're not coming off the national championship, but I think that they're a program that's on the uptick too, and I think it's awesome for the Big Ten. I mean, living in Big Ten country and working in an industry where it's so SEC slanted and so much SEC love. And I kind of took to Twitter this week and got after Colin Cowherd a little bit because I thought his comment was atrocious, saying it was Ohio State and the rest of the Big Ten was atrocious. He must not have watched much Big Ten football, and like a lot of people, there probably wasn't much interest in watching Big Ten football, but I watched a lot of Big Ten football, and I think there was a lot of hard-nosed teams. Penn State went 6-6 last year, but that defense sure would hit you in the mouth, and they played with less than 50 scholarship guys. Michigan State might have been the second-best team in the country. I still stand by that. And Wisconsin, after getting their pants pulled down in the Big Ten title game and then seeing their coach leave for Oregon State, of all places, they show up in the bowl game and beat Auburn. So down in SEC country. So I know I just went on a little bit of a rant there, but I like where the Big Ten's headed on the football field, and Ohio State's certainly leading the way, but they're not the only team capable of banging with some other good football teams.
Oh, there's no doubt. We appreciate the Big Ten diatribe. I thought Cowherd's comments were to be expected in football off season. He likes to fire people up, but his real egregious oversight was not mentioning and giving credit to Michigan State. Regardless of what you think of their program long term, the last 5 or 6 years have been very, very impressive. So,
but I'll never forget Kyle Hurd talking about Duke and Butler in the Final Four, and he sometimes listen. We all make mistakes, we all say dumb stuff, but like when he was trying to compare Butler and Duke in the Final Four a couple of years ago, talking about all the pros on the roster, well, hell, Butler had the best pro.
I was going to say, I think Gordon Hayward makes more than the entire Duke starting 5 combined, regardless of where they are in Europe. So we appreciate Steve stopping by. Back next week, Steve. Thanks for joining us.
Can't wait. Take care, guys.